Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Agent Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Stevens. I am a local real estate agent and team leader here in Northern Nevada. And this podcast is all about how to exceed as a real estate agent and as an entrepreneur. I interview guests who have already done it and who are a few steps ahead and are willing to share a wealth of knowledge with you. Today, my guest is Ryan Borden. Ryan has been a real estate agent, been a real estate investor, now a broker owner of Realty One Group Eminence, the place where I hang my license. And we're going to kind of dig in on the journey, on the inspiration, and how everything was made possible, including starting his own brokerage. So, how you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Lee, yourself?
Good.
Excellent.
Thanks for joining me. You're guest number one. I was kind of like my own guest just a second ago. You saw that, but we're going to talk about what business you're in now. Tell me a little bit about what you do.
I'm the real estate broker, owner of Realty One Group, as you know.
Yeah.
And basically my day-to-day is running the brokerage, growing the brokerage, and making sure everything goes smooth. And that's basically the day-to-day of a broker, at least a broker in my position.
Is it like, because I've seen it and it seems like you have a lot, like you're juggling a lot or you have a lot of spinning plates. Is it one of those things where you kind of get that one spinning, get that one spinning?
You know, it is, absolutely. I think pretty much any business is, right? Especially early on. And The fact is we're still pretty early on. We've been at this for 3.5 years, and in the scheme of things, we're still a very new brokerage and constantly growing. So, right now it is a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and just staying focused on what the end game is.
Okay. Well, I think this podcast is going to appeal to a lot of agents. So you you still hold your license, obviously. You're a broker, but you got into the business how? Let's start there.
You know, I got in the business in 2006, and I kind of got in by default, honestly. At that point in time, real estate was crazy. You may or may not remember that, but I got in simply as an investor. I was buying properties, renting properties, selling properties, and life was good. I mean, it was crazy. That was my side hustle.
Okay.
And, I was actually a full-time, I was in sheet metal manufacturing. I was a designer. So
Cool.
I would do that for 8 or 10 hours a day and make twice as much money in 2 hours a day working real estate. So ultimately, I wound up with quite a few homes. I mean, not a ton. I think I had 9, maybe 10 homes. And I remember specifically in 2005, one of my flips, I got it all done, put it on the market, and nothing happened. And prior to that, everything I'd done, you put it on the market and you have a dozen offers in a day, right? It's just like the market we came out of.
Yeah.
And I totally panicked. So I'm going, oh man, I've got 9 or 10 homes. What happens if the market falls to pieces and I get stuck with all these things? So at any rate, I decided I'll get my real estate license because the knowledge will be good just for the flip business.
Sure.
And I can sell my own properties, which now as a broker, I would never do that in a million years, but I didn't know any better back then, right? So
yeah, you were trying to save 3%, 5%. I get it.
Exactly. So throughout the process of going through the schooling and all that, my employer, I don't think liked it, and it created a lot of friction.
Okay.
So by the time it was all said and done, I had been there for a long time. I'd been in that line of work for 17 years. I was pretty much at the top, and I was kind of over it.
Yeah.
Lee, honestly, I was totally burnt. And one day I just decided I'm not doing this anymore, right? And quit, jumped into real estate. But even at that point, not with the intention of being a real estate professional or a realtor, right? Representing buyers and sellers.
Sure.
But I got in and I had a relatively large sphere at that point in time. And everybody, like real estate was the talk of the town, right? Everybody was doing something. So they're coming to me, buying and selling real estate. And I'm just going, this is absolutely amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is so easy. I mean, it was easy in the fact that I wasn't punching a clock at 7 o'clock in the morning and clocking out at 4:30 in the afternoon, right? So
Yeah.
it was really, really awesome for a while, right? And then, but what happened was everybody I knew, once they did their thing, their transactions, they were done for now, right?
Yeah.
And I remember specifically one day I'm sitting there in my cubicle. I had a cubicle at my real estate office, and I always had a strong work ethic, right? So I'd go to work every morning and do whatever I thought was productive. And at that time, it was making flyers, right? Like I made
Flyer
a lot
expert.
I made a lot of flyers, right?
Yep.
And I would be embarrassed to look at them now, I'm sure. But I remember my team leader walks by me one day, and she kind of goes, "Ryan, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I won't mention her name, but I told her I'm making flyers because I don't know what else to do, right?" She's like, "Well, you need to call people." I said, "I've called everybody I know. Like, that's it, right?"
Yeah.
And she didn't give me any idea of what I should be doing, right? I needed to generate leads,
Yes.
but I had no clue how.
Okay.
And then funny enough, a couple of days later, and keep in mind, this was maybe a year or so, something like that, into my real estate journey. But after my experience, my flyer making and team leader experience, a gentleman walks by my cubicle, and he pops in. He says, "Hey, Ryan, my name's Jared. I'm going to be starting a team. I see you're here at the office working every day, and I've got so many leads, I don't know what to do with," right? And my first thought was, this guy's full of it. Like,
Yeah.
how can you have so many leads that you don't? And well, sure enough, he literally starts showing me pages of leads. And I was like, sign me up.
Yeah.
Like, sign me up. So I wound up joining on with him on his team.
Okay.
And it was phenomenal, right? Like, it was expensive, but it was an investment in my business.
Right.
And basically at that point, I'm going, this is absolutely amazing, right? I'm getting paid to learn the business.
Right.
He was good. The team leader was really good. He was awesome at training and that sort of thing. So,
Is he still around?
he's not.
Okay.
I'm not sure where he took off to, but
Just curious.
it doesn't. It was quite an experience. I can tell you that.
Man, that's pretty awesome, Ryan. Some of the things that you said, being exhausted but thinking it's easy. I compare that to like being at the gym, expending all your energy, being exhausted but feeling great. That's the best way I can describe real estate. So tell me about like when you knew you were going to make it in real estate. So I know, there's that moment. Jay asked me the last episode when I was going to make it. Do you know when?
Well, I knew from day one, I thought.
Yeah.
Because remember, I got in, everybody's doing something, real estate is going gangbusters, and then all of a sudden it just went like dark, right?
Yeah.
After my team experience, it was now right around 2008.
Okay.
Everybody remembers 2008, right? It was ugly, ugly times in real estate. And I focused all of my efforts at that time on how can I acquire financial institutional clients,
Okay.
right? And that's what I did. And it was REOs, right?
Yeah.
So I put all of my effort for months into getting REOs.
And
And nothing panned out
okay.
for a long, long time. Like, I did all the classes, I called and did everything I possibly thought I could do. Nothing happened. Literally, Lee, I remember in September of 2008 was the first time I ever thought, remember I got in 06,
Yes.
September 2008, I'm going to have to get a job, right?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want a job.
I know, a job.
But, and then I just happened to get an email, and it says property assignment. And it was a REO property out in Dayton.
Okay.
And I
Do you
was
remember the
so
address?
excited. I should remember the address, man.
No worries.
I don't. But I do remember the transaction. It was horrible.
Yes.
Buyers moved in prior to the close of escrow. We had to evict them, and I won't even get into that.
Yeah.
But it was ugly, ugly.
Oh man, those are good. Those are the good stories though.
Yeah. But once that took off, like it was a big client that I had landed, and wound up landing a few more over the next couple of years. And obviously by then I knew we were off and running.
So that was kind of my next question. I guess your biggest breakthrough was probably getting the REO contract, but was there another one? I mean, so REO, or for me, when I figured out I could do it, then I started doing it more, and then it was hard because I didn't really have a business. So
Yep.
I know you had the REO account. What did you have a business? Did you have the team around you, or did it become a business in the middle of that? And describe that to everybody.
I can tell you, Lee, that when I went into real estate, I went in with a complete wrong mindset because I simply didn't know. So if I'm talking to an agent now, getting in is really about having the mindset that you are starting a business, right? You're opening your own company. So, one of my very few pet peeves, I don't have a lot, but is when I hear an agent talk about their job, right? Their job as a realtor. And that's just not the case. Like your business, your company, you're a real estate professional, right? Mm-hmm. So just once I developed that mindset, and it took a while, right? Like, just so you know a little bit about me, I went straight from high school to work, right? I come from a very, very blue collar, hardworking family. I didn't go to college. Like everything I've learned has just been through the school of hard knocks. So,
same.
When I got into a certain point of my business, I realized that this is actually a business, right? Like where I had to start keeping things like P&Ls and budgets and forecasting what the business looks like. And I think that really hit home when I started a team. The REO stuff really started to slow down in probably late 2011.
Okay.
That's when I started a real estate team. But what I realized quickly with a real estate team is you have to capitalize that team. It's expensive to run. It's very similar to a brokerage, right?
Yes.
So that was when it kind of sunk in after all those years, right? From 2006 to 2011 before I even really realized that I had a business.
That's crazy. So did you go anywhere to learn that? Or did you have a mentor to show you that?
Along the way, I was kind of big into coaching and that sort of thing. But
sure.
Honestly, Lee, I don't recall it ever being a topic of conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The topic of conversation was just generally, what's your vision? How are you going to execute your vision, right? And that's hard. That's hard to know, right? Because like even to this day, it's really difficult to have a crystal clear vision. I think if you come up with that, if you know exactly what your vision is, building the plan, super easy.
Right.
Executing the plan, not so much.
That's true. So you had the REO account and you decided to start a team. Was there a particular reason why you decided to start the team?
There was actually, Lee, and honestly, it was, I won't go too deep into exactly why, but the basis of it was I was burnt out.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I mean, that's the easiest way to put it, right? Like,
well, how many hours? Just let's let everyone know how many hours that you worked doing the REO thing. I've heard hundreds.
It was
a week.
I mean, there was no less than an 80-hour week.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no less than an 80-hour week.
Yeah, and you did that for 3 years, heavy, right?
3.5 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a lot. Did you take a vacation during that time?
No.
Yes.
There's no vacation. If you're gone, like the way it worked in that world was if you get a property assignment and you don't accept it within a very, very short period of time, it goes to the next agent in line. And once that next agent in line gets one of these things, they're going to start getting them all.
I
So
see.
there's no vacations, there's no downtime. I remember distinctly right in the middle of Thanksgiving, right prior to dinner, I got a property assignment. Happened to be a very, very nice home in North Reno, actually. And I had to excuse myself and go, right, because as soon as you get the property assignment, you have to go do an occupancy check.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And if you don't, it's on to the next, right? A very, very high degree of accountability.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you that between being on the team, remember I was on a team, and then acquiring an REO account, it created extremely good habits, right?
Sure.
And that was working out of a system,
Yeah.
right? A CRM, essentially.
Right.
So on the team, we worked out of an old system called Top Producer.
Yeah.
With the REO stuff, we worked out of a system called Equator, right? It's
Okay.
just all task-based.
Sure.
And as long as you're getting your tasks done and you're getting them done on time, you're good to go.
So you started the team to better leverage real estate.
You know, absolutely. So obviously I was tired, pretty burnt. And remember, the real estate worked a little bit different back then, but sign calls and sign calls is still a big thing, but it was really big back then.
Sure.
And it's kind of funny because I remember when I was approached by Jared on the team years ago, he said, Ryan, I have so many leads I don't know what to do with.
Right.
The first person I brought onto my team, I said, hey, JD, I have so many leads, I don't know what to do with these things. And I showed her the leads. And funny enough, during our initial interview process in starting this team, I got a phone call. And it was a sign call.
Oh, wow.
And I gave it to JD. She went out and sold that, not that property, but there was a property right down the street from it on Wagoneer in Donner Springs.
Okay.
And she sold the property, and I quickly went, I need her on my team, right?
Yeah.
And we teamed up, and we remained a team until 2019.
Okay.
That's when I started Realty One Group, and she actually went and started her own brokerage as well. So
Cool. Yeah,
cool.
I know JD. She's a cool lady. She's awesome. So tell me a little bit more about the team. How many people did you get up to, and how much were you doing in GCI?
You know, the biggest we ever got the team, and it wasn't, you know, I didn't run a mega team or anything like that, but we had 7 agents and 2 admin staff.
Okay.
So we had an ISA, and she did some administrative stuff as well, an inside sales agent, right?
Yeah.
And then we had a transaction manager.
Okay. All right. When did the team start clicking? Was there any, did it just start snowballing? Because I have a team, and it's, there's a point where it's like velocity is achieved. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's like level up. Did you get there? I mean, you were doing quite a few deals.
You know, we did, I would say we generally averaged somewhere around 100 or, maybe between 100 and 125 deals a year. And for me, we were doing well, right? Not nearly as well as I wanted, but that's just kind of my, that's just me, right? Like you can always do better. So the team worked out really well, but you're working very closely with each other, right?
Yeah.
So if there's not synergy within the team, things will quickly go sideways. So that was a constant, right? So we didn't have a lot of turnover, but I would say most real estate teams have a decent amount of turnover, especially if the synergy just isn't there.
Okay. Well, let's see here. I would say, that's kind of all of my questions that are just standard. Now, let's say someone is thinking about becoming an entrepreneur and a real estate agent, and they're talking to all these different outfits in town. I think there's 3 levels. There's probably many, many, many more, but there's the new agent, there's the experienced agent, and then there's the team leader that usually has a bunch of agents in those various levels. Is it possible to get to your level at our brokerage?
100%. Absolutely.
So where would they begin? Is there a path at the brokerage for that? Is there like, I guess that's the question that I get all the time. It's like, I see that you're doing good, I understand that. And then there's this disconnect of, what I do is not, it's the fundamentals. How do we get someone from entering the business to becoming a triple, 6-digit income earner to $500,000 to $1 million to maybe a brokerage owner, business owner, all that?
Lee, it really starts with mindset, right?
Yeah.
And confidence. Like you've got to be confident that you can actually do it.
Absolutely.
And so much there was so much. If I look back where I started compared to where I am now, there's so much I didn't know. Not like I know it all now either, right? Like not even close. I think if you think you know it all, then you're in big trouble.
Oh yeah.
But mindset, work ethic, early on, work from a plan.
Right.
Right.
Oh yeah.
How else are you going to hold yourself accountable if you have no plan, no vision, anything like that, right? So maybe determining exactly where you want to go. And, sometimes it's really hard. So if you're just getting into real estate, knowing what you want your business to look like in 5 years is almost impossible.
Yeah,
really.
it
right?
is.
Like I think the main focus has to be on how do I run my real estate business, right? How do I represent my clients to the best of my ability?
Yeah.
Right? And that's a big deal right there, right? I mean, you get into real estate, you get a license after 120 hours of education, and now you're certified to advise buyers and sellers on what could potentially be the largest transaction of their life. So there is a certain degree of accountability just doing that, right? But
Yes.
the thing with real estate or any business for that matter, and where I see more agents struggle is, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, they jump in not understanding that they're going into business. Right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
what's one thing, Lee, that all businesses require?
They require some money.
Capital.
Yeah.
They require capital. Absolutely.
Capital, yes.
Right. And so that's kind of if you're going into business, doesn't matter what business you're going into, you need to have capital, and you need to understand you're probably not going to make any money for a while.
Right.
And the crazy thing about real estate sales is, I mean, you can be made whole in 6 months.
Yeah.
Like that, meaning you got all the money back that you invested in your real estate sales business, and you're making money.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. There's no other business in the world that I know of that's like that, right? You figure a typical business might cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Like just a typical business, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and generally 5 years minimum to be made whole on that investment. And it might take you 2 to 3 years before you're even able to start taking a paycheck, right? So, and then, your typical business might run at somewhere between a 10 to maybe a 20% margin. Real estate sales, you can run 65 to 75% margin. It is a unicorn. The real estate sales is the unicorn business.
Oh yeah.
It's phenomenal.
I totally agree.
Yep.
So we've got some agents that just crush it at the office. We interviewed some yesterday in the office, I believe. And is there a pattern there? Is there key traits that you see in people who destroy and people who struggle? Like, what's the big difference?
Yeah, there absolutely is. So relationships.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yes.
The agents that maintain relationships simply do better, right?
Yeah.
Like when I went into real estate, I kind of thought you had to be the super the high I type personality, super gregarious and that sort of thing.
Right.
And I'm going to struggle, right? Because I'm not that guy. I'm an introvert. I'm generally not the life of the party type guy. But I am a high D, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very driven, work ethic, that sort of thing. But to answer your question, I think maintaining relationships is number one, right? Like you have to maintain the relationships that you have currently in your sphere. They need to know what you do.
Right.
But then you need to have processes in place to help you create additional relationships, right? That's additional business acquisition. So
That's good. That's good advice.
yeah.
So how can someone succeed, a little better at our brokerage compared to the competition? Like
Yeah.
what's your answer to that question?
Yeah. Loaded question, Lee, for sure. But I would say first and foremost, simply the engagement, care, support that they get from the leadership team and staff as well, and our agents. You're a prime example, Lee. I mean, how many times have you taught classes? You're teaching all these agents everything that you're doing because you want to, right?
Yeah.
And that is phenomenal. And we've got a lot of agents that do that, which really makes our brokerage special, I think.
It does. I think one big thing is there's more freedom, and there's still the structure. It's all compliant, so I don't want it
Yeah.
to sound like that, but you give us more freedom to be our own business owners.
I don't want to handcuff anybody, right?
Right.
Like, obviously, there's a certain standard that we want to maintain in brand integrity and that sort of thing.
Right.
But I truly 100% want to see all you guys just thrive in real estate. It's a very humbling feeling to know that we've gone from 0 to over 150 agents in 3 years, knowing that every single partner that has partnered with me in the brokerage has taken a chance, right?
Yeah.
Lee, I mean, you were one of the first. And
Number 14.
yeah, it was a cold call.
Yeah.
Like, I think you just wanted the free coffee, but
I always need coffee. Well, thanks so much for your time today, Ryan. If someone wants to have a conversation with you about getting into real estate or joining the team at the brokerage, how do they get a hold of you, and where can they find you on social media and stuff?
Absolutely. The easiest way to get a hold of me would simply be call my cell. I do like phone calls, honestly. 775-544-9262. Or simply go through our website, which is join1towin.com.
All right, Ryan, thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Right on time. 30 minutes.
Perfect.
30 minutes. Just
It goes
flew.
by quick.
Yeah.